What's up, guys, and welcome back to a very special edition of the Mastery Podcast. The man I am looking at right now needs no introduction. You guys know him. If you don't know him, you will. And by the end of this, you're going to wonder why the hell you don't know about him if you didn't. I've got nothing else to say. I'm going to get straight into episode 94 with one of my best friends in the whole world, Jordan Peters. Buddy, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. That was a very, very kind introduction. And it's a pleasure to be part of anything that you do. You know that. I am very proud to call you one of my closest friends and advisors in life.
I think we've done the same to each other plenty of times.
I think over this last year, you've helped me a lot more.
Well, if we end up broaching on the odd bit here and there, then that might come up. But we've got lots and lots that I want to go through with you.
Yes.
Have you done much in terms of podcasts with anybody with regards to the rise of Train by JP as a brand?
No, this will be the very first time I've kind of talked about anything from a business perspective.
Well, guys, you follow Jordan, I'm sure. If you don't, you are opening yourself up to an incredible journey when you do follow him. Before I let Jordan tell you a little bit about kind of his background and where he came from, Jordan came on my radar quite a long time ago. Do you remember how long ago it was? How long ago it was?
2012.
So 2012, right? So eight, 9 years, right? And where we were 7 years. So where I was at in my early stages was bodybuilding, and I was trying to improve myself. And Jordan was training and working out of Ultimate Fitness in Birmingham. Am I right?
Right.
And I'd followed Jordan for a long time, and I was training in Ultimate Fitness. And I was who was I with at the time?
James.
Was it with James? And I was with James. I said, "There's Jordan," and I said, "I want to pick his brains." And I picked your brains, and then we said, "Could we pay you to come over to M10?" And I'll never forget, you came to M10 with Corin's pink food container. I'll never forget. And so this man mountain walks into the gym, and everyone went, "He's got a pink food container." And I was like, that was my first real understanding that you don't give a shit.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And literally, do you know what? My first encounter with Jordan, when he came and used the gym, we still have in M10 to this day a bent pin in the lat pull down machine because he loaded up absolutely everything. And at that point, I went, I think I've met somebody that's going to help me a lot. And over the course of the last 7 years, not only have we become incredible friends, but you've put me on stage numerous times. I've won under your guidance. I've got my physique to a point which genuinely I never thought in my entire life that I would ever look the way that I do, even today, but also on a bodybuilding stage. But Jordan, as a coach, regardless of how much he's had on, has at any given time has travelled to see me and support me, and I'll would do the same for him. We do, but a journey that's been 7 years. I've watched Jordan's rise from bodybuilder to Train by JP to building everything that he's got. But from your perspective, Jordan, I'd like to kind of know, right the way kind of from university, if I could, kind of what's been your journey that's got you to today. I don't want to spend the whole day on it, but there's been some real pivotal things that's kind of got you to here.
Sure. Well, I became obsessed very quickly with acquiring knowledge. That I would say would be the trigger to everything. And obsessed is probably the only word to describe it. So once I start to dig into a particular topic, I will need to know everything that I possibly can about that topic. And then if there are certain aspects that don't interest me at all, then I won't even consider trying to move into them. So there are certain things that I don't know about, and I don't know anything about them because they haven't kind of caught my interest. But then the bits that have, mostly how to build the most amount of muscle, has been something that has fascinated me for an incredibly long period of time. And To be honest, this is something that I think about non-stop, from so many perspectives. So from university, obviously it was from an educational perspective, it was trying to get better at sports science. And I was okay in formal academia. Wasn't the best, wasn't the worst. Wasn't the best because it's very structured and I only care for what I want to know. Mm-hmm. So that was obviously where a limiting factor for me in terms of formal academia, that if they start to move off in tangents that then don't necessarily interest me, I will simply stop listening, which is my own stubbornness and whatnot. But I gathered a lot of information there, and then I moved into just wanting to get better. I've always been very, very keen at seeing others progress as well. Mm-hmm. That's something that's been the case since I was very young, where if I see someone else excelling, my initial reaction has always been excitement as opposed to resentment. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm quite fortunate at that, because some people have that embedded in them where their initial reaction will kind of be like, oh, fuck, that's like, I wish I was doing that. Whereas my initial reaction is like, wow, that's amazing. Like I want to help. How can I help? So that combined with the kind of obsession about learning always pushed me towards being a good coach. And then I suppose it just kind of started to snowball from there.
Well, on that point, you were at university. Now, you played professional rugby, right? For?
It's for London Wasps.
For London Wasps, which is an incredible side. Danny Cipriani, you played alongside, right?
I did.
And from that time, you were... like, what sort of body weight were you then? Were you bodybuilding when you were playing rugby?
I had good strength and conditioning coaches, but I certainly wasn't bodybuilding. I was high 60 kilos, so probably 68, 69 kilos when I was around about 17, 18, when I was scrum half, and I played...
Small?
At the highest... Yeah, very small. Very small.
Wow. That's amazing.
But very strong, very fit, very fast.
Yeah.
And I was very suited to the position that I played.
How did bodybuilding come about?
I got dropped from Wasps. I went to Loughborough University to study undergrad, then was hit with don't fancy playing university rugby because it felt like a massive step down from where I previously was playing. And I just lost the passion at that point for it. The only thing that I was good at was lifting weights. So then it was like, okay, let's give this bodybuilding malarkey a go. And then my first show was the hardest thing I'd ever done, ever. It was so mentally and physically challenging. It was unbelievable. Because I was doing 3 hours cardio a day. My calories were rock bottom. And it was just this test that I'd never endured before. And I absolutely loved it. I loved it. Like I just, every moment of that end part was just me all over. And as soon as I did my first show, I was like, okay, I absolutely love this. And then that was it.
So on that note, I absolutely love this. In anything that you've come across with people that's competing or people that love doing what they do, a lot of fitness professionals I see, they're training a certain type of people. They don't necessarily enjoy that type of person. They're doing something that they don't necessarily enjoy. Your advice on that point then, in terms of absolutely falling in love with something that you want to do every single day to a point where you are relentless in your pursuit to get better at it. What are your thoughts on that in terms of giving advice to coaches if you don't love it?
Okay, so I'm, as you know, the sort of person that will only do something if I want to do it. Not that I will avoid at moments aspects that I'm not massively keen on, but what I'm saying is that the majority of my time and my energy and my focus is towards things that I love. Because that in that moment, that's where you will excel and you will just flourish. and your natural ability to communicate and to share your knowledge and to empower others will just become so attractive, and that's where you need to be. And I've always known that. I've always known that I will never spend moments working in a job that I don't enjoy, for example. Mm-hmm. So like, I've never had an employer in my life. I've never worked for someone ever. Mm-hmm. And I knew that from a very, very, very early age, that I would never, ever work for anyone. Because I always wanted to make my own decisions, my own mistakes, and learn as I go. And I loved that process as well. So I think that if someone is doing something that they don't enjoy, you will struggle to excel.
And have you found it? I mean, over the years, do you remember going back to Facebook? Your posts were the longest. They were like Dante Trudel level.
Yeah.
And do you remember you used to literally write, and the engagement on Facebook when it was back in the day was incredible, and you just used to share and help. And we've got this thing nowadays, especially with social media, where trainers are struggling to help people.
Sure.
Why do you think that is?
No one is prepared to show their value without feeling like they should be paid for it immediately.
Right.
So everyone is entitled when they have no right to be entitled. Mm-hmm. I think that you need to prove yourself first and foremost that you do have value. Mm-hmm. And I spent years putting out free content, a lot, like you just said, that those essays where I would sit there and I would just think to myself, I'm going to take these people on a story and I'm going to write my experiences and share and help, and then I'm going to answer every single comment that gets written. Mm-hmm. I would spend all evening and God, I remember Corin would just be fucking driving, like going crazy at me, like trying to get me off there. Well, so I'm like, no, I have to answer every single one of these questions.
Yeah.
And I think people aren't prepared to do that now. They're like, okay, well, this is going to cost you X amount of money. This is going to cost you X amount of money. And obviously, at some point, you have to then start charging people. But equally, at some point, you have to be prepared to show that you are worth an investment.
And in line with that, then, let's look at your career, because you started building your physique and went on this incredible journey of knowledge and applying. I mean, this is the thing, Bud, right? We've got a lot of knowledgeable people that don't even really train. And,
sure.
And this in the fitness industry will be, I will take it to my deathbed, that if you're going to teach building muscle and getting lean, it's a big thing that you need to do.
Sure.
But ultimately, we have no greater gift than our body to practice what we know. And it's an incredible tool that's taught us a lot of what not to do, but then given us a reward when we get it right. But in line with that, your dedication to develop your physique, how long were you working at your physique before no one knew who you were?
Years and years. And I would happily do that without anyone ever knowing who I was. Genuinely. Like I said to you, like, you know that I don't post progress pictures.
Yep.
I don't post things like that. Like I post a progress picture every 6 months.
Yep.
Because I don't care to show that, because I just love the process.
Yeah.
I am so in love with the process.
Yeah.
And all I could do is go through it, look at myself and go, yeah, I got that right. And that would be enough for me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to put an Instagram post up every single day looking for that confirmation, looking for that hit of endorphins to be like, yeah, I'm liked, I'm accepted. I think that if you're hunting for that, you're never going to be happy. I think that if you want true kind of contentment in what you're doing, that it is about the process. And I adore it so much.
And well, Train by JP has become an incredible brand in the fitness industry. when did Trained by JP, because you were, Jordan Peters online, and then you had your page, and then it kind of Trained by JP appeared. What gave you the point? How did Trained by JP happen?
So in 2013, 2012, I thought to myself, okay, well, I have enough clients at this point that are paying me money that basically I need to become official. But basically, I was like, I need to start paying some tax, I suppose. That was literally my thought process. I was like, shit, I've actually spent the last year just tax evading. So I thought to myself, well, I better register myself as some kind of name. I better get an accountant. I better backlog all this money that I've made.
And pay the tax.
Yeah, that was literally on that. So I caught myself up with all my tax, and I had a name in place. And then I thought, well, let's move forward from here now and see what we can do with this.
Just incidentally, on that point, Bud, when you say you got clients, you didn't start off face-to-face personal training, right?
I've never face-to-face personal trained in my life.
So how did your first person get in touch with you and say, can you coach me? I mean, was it off the back of doing a show? What was it?
I have been active on the forums since the age of 16. So from the age of 16, all of the popular bodybuilding forums, I was a member of every single one. And you'll see the username XJPX that will be flowing around on tons and tons and tons of forums. So when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, there was thousands of forum posts from me. Just thousands. There's a log on UK Muscle where I logged my whole first year of competing. And it's had like something crazy, like so many views, because I posted every single day talking about what I was eating, what I was taking, how I was feeling. And no one was really doing that then. And here was some 18-year-old that all of a sudden was like, I'm taking this and I'm doing this, and this is why I'm doing it, and I fucking love it. Yeah. And then we all of a sudden it started to grow, and I started to have people like I have people that come up to me now and are like, I've been reading your stuff since you were 17.
Wow.
They were like, I've followed you since then, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
Obviously I'm 30 now, and someone literally said, he was like, I have read everything you've ever posted on the internet, and I was like, that's cool. So obviously by the time I got to like 19, 20, I built trust with these people because I'd had a couple of years of undergrad sports science. I'd done a few shows, and I demonstrated my passion for what I do. Mm-hmm. So then from there, people were like, okay, well, this kid maybe doesn't have tons of experience yet, but what he lacks in experience right now, he makes up for in passion. Mm. And then those people trusted me. And I was like, okay, let's see what we can do. And I made some tremendous progress with their transformations and their physiques. Started to put those transformations out. And then from there, again, things grew very quickly.
And this is incredible, right? Because over the last few years, a lot more has become evident online about talking about, especially digital marketing, that, because people have come online more nowadays, this whole thing about know, like, trust is very evident in marketing, which initially people have got to find out about you. Then they've got to kind of get to know you, which means you've got to show up, which means you kept showing up on the forums all the time. And then they wanted to see whether this guy was credible in terms of his results and his own results, and he was, and that's the trust element. And then naturally they're going to reach out to you and say, hey, do you do coaching? And the funny thing is, Bud, what you've just explained is what a lot of people are actually resistant to doing. They're not showing up somewhere, i.e. making themselves visible to some degree, whether it's writing blogs, whether it's engaging with people, whether it's going to events. They're not making themselves visible. And also, what you were doing a lot of on the forums was sharing your knowledge. And sure. and comparative to what it is now, it was in its early stages, but you didn't stop. And I remember in the early days, for me, I watched people putting articles out, and I just went home, and every week I wrote 2 articles for about 4 years. Yeah. And they're all on my website still. And that commonality of showing up and building trust. But also what you did was you didn't ask for anything in return. And that's the point that you made. People are showing up once or twice and going, spend money with me.
Yeah, 100%.
But so therefore, what you were doing was showing up, and then people were making their own decision, right, that they want to work with you. So how did your online training business grow from that? Was it all from the forums?
Yeah, pretty much. And admittedly, when I first kind of then launched the business, so to speak, I then actually had real difficulty in managing the client numbers.
Really?
I went from helping 20 to 30 people to helping over 100 people instantly.
Wow.
And there was a point where it suffered. And I was like, okay, I am struggling here. I couldn't keep up. My work started to suffer.
Right.
So then I scaled back my client numbers, obviously increased my prices because there was scope to. And I started to put systems into play to better manage the demand that I'd created. And then I started to get kind of my own process nailed down in regards to making sure that my clients were happy and that I was getting results. And then once you have that process kind of nailed down, I think that growth is inevitable if you are consistently demonstrating your passion. I think that your clients need to know that firstly, their results actually matter to you, and not just the fact that they pay you matters to you, because those are very different things. And secondly, they need to know that you investing in your own personal development is something that's important to you, not then just to serve them, but it's important for you as an individual, because that then demonstrates your own passion again. And when you're consistently demonstrating your own natural innate passion, work is then not work.
And you know what, on that point, bud, I literally just saw a video from Gary Vee. And he was being a bit pissed off about people moaning about burnout.
Okay.
Because yes, with training we take our recovery, but this is a guy, I'm talking to Jordan now, guys, who was doing 100 online clients. And we've got some trainers at the moment doing 30 sessions a week in a PT gym. And bearing in mind you were bodybuilding, but managing a portfolio of 100 people, you would have done 200 if you'd actually got that opportunity because it was your passion, right?
The highest I built myself up to was actually whilst I was doing my second master's, and I was handling 170 online clients at that time. And at that point, both the masters and the online work was not work.
And with that, let's just stay there for a sec, because there are a lot of trainers and, budding fitness industry, professionals, professionals, going to be a lot of different people from different parts of the health and fitness industry listening to this. This isn't bodybuilding. This is about doing your passion. This, regardless of bodybuilding or whatever we're talking about, this is the word passion. And I still get up at 6:30 and I don't leave my laptop till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. To this day, at 41 years of age, 17 years in the industry. And I don't see it as work. You don't see what you do as work. Yet there's a lot of people complaining, Jordan, in the fitness industry of just being tired and it being hard. What's your advice?
Then I certainly feel for them, because I think that it's a possibility that you and I are quite lucky that this doesn't feel like work for us.
Yes.
But equally, I feel like we've been smart in regards to the path we've chosen to walk down. Because everyone will have something that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
Everyone. And if they are finding the fitness industry to be tiring, that is not their passion.
Yes.
So they need to reevaluate which particular path they move down. That's all. because they are currently on a road that they are not going to keep moving along if they're feeling tired.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not going to get to the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to happen.
That was Gary Vee's exact point.
That's it, because to me, there is no derailing me. There is no stopping me.
Yeah.
Like I am the freight train that is picking up momentum.
Yep.
And as I go, I am picking up speed more and more and more. And I'm finding ways to expand and grow. And because I want to take on more work.
Yeah.
I want, and because it's not work, it's passion. And it's like, okay, this is incredible. And at no point do I ever feel tired, overwhelmed, or burnt out.
And you know what? You're building your body. You're building your brain, you're building your business. 3 things that I say are 3 important things in developing yourself in the fitness industry. But ultimately, what you're also doing right now is you're juggling a lot more than you were doing 10 years ago, successfully.
But equally, I have some incredible people around me.
Now, yes,
and
of course.
That is something that is like, put it this way. If we rewind 3 to 4 years ago,
yeah,
and I didn't have Corin involved, Trained by JP would not currently exist.
Yeah.
It would have failed because I wouldn't have been able to manage the workload, because at that point I would have become simply overwhelmed due to my lack of structure.
Yeah.
Whereas Corin took all of that stress off me.
Mm-hmm.
She took over and handled all of the accounts, all of the admin, all of the communication aspect. She handled all of the client intake forms. She handled everything. So all I had to do was coach.
Mm-hmm.
That was, she took on so much work.
I remember that.
And without her, like I've said to you so many times, sometimes I'm like, I would be so fucked without Corin.
Yeah.
I say it over and over again to the point where actually it scares me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because not that I would ever lose her, but to the point where I know that she is so important that does make me think, oh, holy shit, like I'm so fortunate.
Yeah.
So I think at some point you do have to also have some incredible people around you.
Yeah.
But then again, you equally have to have demonstrated something to attract those people, mm-hmm. for them to be prepared to invest in you.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, now I have like a team of videographers, I have a fantastic web guy, and I now obviously have a group of sponsored athletes, and we are now all pulling in the same direction. Mm-hmm. And the team, and we can call it like a tribe, has grown. And now the tribe is now over 20 people strong.
Yeah. We
are all working very, very hard to drive this freight train in that solid direction that I've kind of put it on.
And just going to a point, I mean, the journey that I can see you guys going on is just utterly inspiring, and I want to tuck into that in a little bit. But at the point where you were realizing, because I remember a phone call, you just went, I am shit with figures and organization and planning, yes. Just because it's something that you hadn't taken control of. There's a lot of fitness professionals that do not understand their money. They don't understand their figures. They don't understand organization. They don't look after intake forms and how to manage customers online and clients online. Managing an online business, a lot of people think it's just about the check-in, the client, done. What's been your biggest lessons that you've learned and the adaptations that you've made to running a successful online fitness business?
I genuinely think that if you do want to grow hugely, that you need to hire someone to handle that aspect for you. I think that even if they were just to do one afternoon a week, just to tidy up that, so just to free up that part of your mind to allow you to excel in an area that is your passion, mm-hmm. I think is important. Like, for example, like you, again, have someone that handles that aspect for you.
Tracy does an incredible job, has done for a long time, and Gemma, and without those two, do you know what? And I've expressed this to them many times, but without them, I can go to put a seminar on, walk in, and all the tables are lined up, water's on the table, everything's all arranged, And that doesn't go unnoticed for me, but it takes so much pressure off. And the accounts are sent to me every month. The numbers of sessions that we have at the gym are all recorded on documents. As you grow, the things that take your time need to be delegated, right?
100% yes. You cannot, because those things aren't a strength of mine. They're not. They are not a strength. Like, I don't have the ability to handle that much information in regards to those things. And if I try to handle that information on top of what I'm trying to do, that's the moment where I would then become, I suppose, burnt out.
Yeah.
Because I'm spending time doing something that isn't my passion.
Yes.
And I find it very, very, very hard.
And that becomes stressful, right? It becomes stressful.
That would be like, again, the equivalent of me going down a career path is something that I was never meant to do, because it's just not a strength of mine. So I simply don't do it. And then if it costs you a bit of money initially to try to take that stress off you, that's a very smart investment.
Yes.
And it's an investment that should be made sooner rather than later, because the sooner you do it, the sooner you can focus your time and attention on where it needs to be.
No, that's very important. And a lot of the guys that I mentor and come on the masterminds, one of the first things that we do is actually start to look at the areas that you're lacking, the areas that you're doing too much of, that's taking too much away from the things that you love. And that really hits the nail on the head with exactly what you've said. And I think that's incredible. And with the growth of your online clients,
yes,
became a point where Trained by JP is still a hugely successful online coaching business.
Yes.
But what do you think in terms of moving on to, you put out a lot of results. A lot of trainers are struggling to grow their online business at the moment and not presenting enough results. How important, I know your knowledge and your reputation, how important have you found the presentation and presentation of your credibility, whether it's your knowledge, growth, your own physique, in terms of people presenting what they can achieve?
Initially, in the early phases, it's absolutely huge. It is huge. So initially, my mindset was demonstrate what I can do as a coach in every opportunity I can.
Yeah. So
from a social media perspective, I was thinking consistently transformations. I wanted to show people that, because let's be honest, people come to you for results.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show people, if you come to me, you're going to get a result. And you need to demonstrate that. And you need to work your arse off to get a result from your clients. And you have got to do whatever the hell it takes in the early stages to get those results, which means you might have to communicate a hell of a lot. You might have to understand why they aren't adhering. You might have to play more of a psychological role as opposed to just telling them what to do from a physiological perspective. Your role in the early stages of proving yourself in terms of getting results requires a lot of time and patience and effort.
And on that point, which is really important, now, if I'm going to call you and say, prep me, I will do another photo shoot. My physique's still good to go. And I'm continuing to grow. With me, if I said, Bud, could you prep me? You wouldn't have a issue with me deviating or not doing my training or whatever.
Sorry.
But that's the type of person that rings you. I'm sure you're still going to get people that would be at the early stage of their journey and not know how important it is, and therefore have to go through a little bit of psychological coaching. Let's talk about coaches in their, not necessarily their early days, but established coaches that are struggling to get results online. What have you come across as being the hardest part about getting results online, and what advice would you give to people to be able to improve their ability to get results?
If you're struggling online and you're a fairly experienced coach, I think then that you need to try to establish your target market a little bit better. So with me, now that I have the reputation I do, I don't coach beginners.
Yes.
So I'm very polite in the fact that I tell them I'm not the coach for them. They might they sometimes take offense to it, but I tell them in honesty, look, I'm doing you a favor here because you're going to waste your money. Because right now, I am not the person to guide you in your early stages. Because there is someone that will be a lot more suited, that would be prepared to spend that time investing in your development from a psychological perspective. Like, I'm at the point now where I don't do that.
Yeah.
If you do not mentally have it, do not come to me.
Yes.
Because I am not in the slightest bit interested in holding your hand.
Yes.
Because I have spent years doing that and proving myself to the point now where all I want are people that really, really want it.
And do you therefore think, but when people contact me for business development coaching, I'm of the same mindset. This is how I operate. This is what's expected of you. You've got to put the work in. Even in the early days of kind of mentoring in the early days, and even personal training, when I don't forget 15 years for me, coaching people, when people used to ring me towards the end, body transformations, going on stage, like there is an expectation immediately, very much the same. Yeah. However, do you think, therefore, that there are a lot of coaches that, because of their hard effort and work, are expecting their clients online to go at the level that they're going at, and they're not prepared to put the work in to coach the psychology stuff? Or do you think they're trying to market themselves to an audience which they haven't proved themselves in yet?
Definitely an aspect of both. I think it's quite hard to get yourself into the position where you can be really choosy with who you take on as clients. I don't take that situation I'm in lightly. I'm incredibly grateful for it.
Yeah.
Like, incredibly, because it then allows me to explore my passion to an even fuller extent. I think that online, you have to, like I said, do whatever it takes to get the result until the results start to flow.
Yes.
That I would say would be the bottom line. Let's say all of a sudden I started to hit a wall where I was struggling with results. Of course I would revert to my ways of whatever I would have to do.
Yeah.
Because we are still in a results-driven industry.
Yeah.
There's only so long that I could get by on my reputation before I started putting out results again.
Yeah.
So then if all of a sudden I had to start coaching people more from a psychological perspective, then God, yes, I would do it. I would do it in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that with the guys that are struggling to get results, do whatever it takes to get them.
Mm-hmm. Whether that's an extra Skype call, whether it's a phone call, with WhatsApp nowadays. I mean, my business coaching clients nowadays know my WhatsApp line's open. Leave me a voice note. I'll come back to you later on in the day. If I need that support for somebody that's struggling, still now I'll do it because I know people need that support.
Definitely.
I think that's incredible. Now, on that, I've obviously just given some ideas to people to think about who are struggling to get online results. Once you've got your established online business, then suddenly you're having this big discussion with yourself about something bigger. And you said to yourself, there's a problem that exists in the industry, and I think I want to solve it. And I think I'm going to build a website. Yes. And I think I'm going to put a membership site together. Now, the interesting thing about you coming on the podcast is that people that follow you are going to have this whole, that's JP, he's got this massively successful business. What you've been able to explain up to this point is that you've gone through the same challenges as everybody else, trying to get a reputation, putting the hours in, but then you got to the point where your reputation was at a certain point where you thought, I'm going to share something which is really frustrating me. What was the reason why you started the membership site?
I would actually say that was more what we're about to get onto there was more the development of the website.
Yes.
What actually triggered the starting of the website was filling a gap that was hugely apparent to me. And that was online coaching is not affordable to everyone.
Yes.
So I thought to myself, let's make it so. How do I make it so? Yes. How do I put out content from someone how do I put out content from myself that people trust, and do it in a way that allows them to get more of a personalized service without necessarily having to hire me because they couldn't afford to.
Yes.
That was what stemmed the growth of the Train by JP membership website. Because I thought to myself, if I take everything I know, everything I've learned up to this point, which was 2013, and I start to create videos, I create articles, I have a forum where I can answer questions, and I charge £5 a month to become a member, people will come. I knew it. I knew it straight away. And I thought to myself, right, let's go. And we started to film and we started to just produce content. And all of a sudden it was 100 members, 200 members, 500 members, 1,000 members, 2,000 members. And then we got to a point where I was like, okay, this is doing very, very, very well. And I'm reaching a lot of people. There is still something here that hasn't been explored, and that is the drug aspect of bodybuilding. And then that's when I thought to myself, I need to now share everything with total transparency and show everyone exactly what I do, why I do it, what I take, when I take it, because there is a lot of misinformation, and it didn't sit well with me that people couldn't have a resource that they could trust. So then that's all of a sudden when we started to just become a total open book. And then all of a sudden we went from 2,000 members to 3,000 to 4,000 members. And then from there, that's when I thought to myself, okay, well, let's bring in some other guys that people like and trust and that I trust. Mm-hmm. Let's bring in James. Let's bring in Sassan. Let's bring in Luke. And let's start putting out information from the best of the best is in Britain, mm-hmm. and let people learn and interact. And we started to create something that just hasn't been put together by anyone, mm-hmm. where there was one place where you could go, where you could ask the best British bodybuilders and get an answer, and all you'd have to pay is £7 a month. And you'd have everything in terms of resources at your fingertips. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're at now, where I have a full team. Like I said, there's around 20 of us that are on the site providing this information, and that stems from professional bikini athletes to figure to women's physique to classic physique to men's physique to super heavyweight bodybuilders to British powerlifting champions to PhDs. We cover it all. Mm-hmm. And there was just this huge gap that was so apparent, and then I was like, right, I think we filled that, and then obviously now that's kind of laid way for other people trying to do what we did, which
you lay the path there. And do you know the interest? You have your own brand established. You know, your brand, the Train by JP brand. Other people can do what they do. It's just like there are gyms all over the world. Their brand, people join a gym, whether it's David Lloyd or Virgin, they join it because of the brand, because of how it makes people feel. When you join JP, Train by JP, you get something that's very unique. And I talk about values a lot. If you could sum up Train by JP, and I want to get a bit of inside you right now, because people, to try and get an understanding of the way that you tick, you are one of the most caring, considerate, authentic, loyal people that I know. And with that, you've never changed. Yeah. And that's why I think the world of you, but that's why other people think the world of you. And with that along the way, have you always ever had to reassure yourself that you're doing things, or make sure that when you do something, you act in line with what's important to you and how you are perceived?
In answer to that question, no. Because, and if we rewind to what you said about when I first walked in the gym and I had that pink bag, I don't give a fuck about materialistic things. I don't care about how much money I make. That's very apparent in the way that I'm sitting here looking just so trendy in what I'm wearing. You will never hear me talk about what I have or don't have in terms of any kind of materialistic thing. So for me, I'm not money driven in the slightest. I find the money aspect an interesting challenge, but that's very, very different. It's like the money aspect to me is like a puzzle, and it's something that I enjoy maneuvering my way through. But if I can't complete the puzzle, that's fine by me. What's important to me is staying true to what I deliver. And because I'm not money driven, it never sways me from what I'm trying to do. Because at no point have I ever made a decision that's been like, well, I could do this because I could cash in. I have never, ever thought like that once, and I never will. And even now, as we move into the supplement brands, the supplement industry, I just don't care about making money.
But your mission, Jordan, ultimately is, if you could sum up what you're trying to achieve, and the reason I'm asking this is, you know, that I help personal trainers and fitness professionals to understand themselves so that they can establish themselves. Like, half the reason I do what I do is because it really upsets me to see how frustrated and challenged people are in terms of finding their way. Right? Now,
sure.
You and I didn't come into this industry with business degrees, or, you know, we have a gift, which was drive, passion, commitment and values, which has allowed us to stay in line with what we truly are trying to achieve. A lot of people are still trying to find their way.
Well, I to me, that is not, that shouldn't be something that's difficult.
Yep.
You understand what is right and wrong from a very young age.
Yep.
We understand honesty. We understand transparency.
Yep.
They are very clear qualities, and they are something that have molded me in every way that I behave. And that's why I go back to the money aspect, because if you think about money, you will be pulled away from sticking to your values.
Love it.
And the funny thing is that if you stick to your values and you're good at what you do, you'll make more money than you could ever dream of anyway. And this is the irony of the situation. Like, if you need to abolish the idea of doing things to make cash and focus solely on how do I make people feel? How do I provide a service that is just brilliant? How do I make people excited and happy? And if you think like that, everything will fall into place. It really, really will. And if even there are periods of your life where financially you have to struggle a bit to stick to those values, I promise you it will pay itself round. There was a period of time, like 2012, when you met me. Corin and I were living in a very, very small, shitty little one-bed apartment in Birmingham.
I remember.
And we struggled. Corin had 3 jobs.
Can we just stop on that? How long had you been coaching people at that point?
For a few years.
Right. So the point here, guys, is if you're listening to this, like, the turning point for you growing as a business, you know, all these things with the membership site and everything else, it's been within the last few years everything started to really push on.
Yeah. Like in 2011, I remember we managed to scrape some money together to go on holiday, and we were so excited because we were, oh my God, we're going on holiday. Like, we can afford to do that, but we had to really save and scrimp, and it was like we had to sacrifice a lot of things just to be able to do that. And at no point did we ever consider trying to make quick money or to kind of not deliver on what we were trying to do. So like I said, in a roundabout way, like if you have so much passion, then you'll never have to worry about money again for the rest of your life. Yeah. I promise you that. And it's hard for people to believe, but it really, really is true. It sounds like when when coaches and whatnot say it, that they're saying it to kind of like in a bit of a cliche fashion. Like when you hear Tony Robbins talking about just serving people, but I promise you, it's exactly how I think.
Yeah.
It really, really genuinely is.
Yeah.
At no moment am I thinking to myself, how can I get you to buy some more stuff off me?
Yeah.
Just not. All I'm thinking to myself is, I know what I'm talking about and I know how to help you.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And then the byproduct of that is that person's then going to turn around and go, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And that's the way you need to think. And I think that if you try to close sales as opposed to focusing on helping people, that's a big mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think so. I'm not a business expert by any means, but I know what's right and wrong, and I know what my values are, and I know that Train by JP has very, very important values.
What are yours?
Honesty, transparency, loyalty.
Yeah, love them.
Those are things that are really, really important to me. And then now, as I've developed more, I have to work on certain values that I want to maintain, like empathy, sympathy, compassion. Because although I'm very honest and loyal and transparent, those come totally naturally to me.
Yeah.
Being empathetic and compassionate, I have to work a little bit on.
Yeah.
But they are things that are important to me, and I want to maintain them in all the decisions that I make. But I think one of the biggest things is just honesty. If you're very honest and you're open, people, especially within the UK, you can see through someone that is just trying to sell you things.
Yeah. And with that, you just talked about selling. It's quite funny that my personal training business was built for myself and online coaching on my referrals based on people saying, I want to work with you. And
sure.
if you want to get to the point where you don't have to close or try and learn how to sell, then become very, very good at offering high value and giving a shit and caring and being passionate. And people will see all those values inside of you and then see your results and have built that much trust in with you. They say how much, as opposed to you saying when.
The sale just occurs.
Yes.
The sale is then an organic, natural occurrence because you can provide something that they want, and then the rest is just an inevitability.
Yeah.
But it's maneuvering yourself into the position to, first of all, have the ability to deliver on what they want. And then the second thing is ensuring that they trust you to deliver what they want. And then if you can do those two things, you will be very, very successful in what you do.
I love that. Now, it wouldn't be the podcast, and interviewing you without me asking you, in the last 10 years of you doing what you do, if you could share any of the challenges that you faced and how you've overcome them.
Yes.
To give a experienced online coach or business owner in the health and fitness industry, or somebody that's new to the industry, what would your kind of try and avoid this, or if you do hit it, this is what I did scenario?
Okay. So for me, I can actually say that the real challenge for me has occurred probably in the last year. And that was because I became so absorbed in my business that I then neglected would be a better word, neglected to make the effort for things outside of the business.
Yeah.
And that, again, is something that's still very important for your overall growth. Because if you want to excel, you have to have a stable, happy environment in your life in general. I think that if you have gaps in your life where you are unhappy, you're going to struggle in your business. Because the happier you are and the more content you are, will reflect in everything that you do. And although you can bury your head and get stuck into work, it will reflect in the way that you communicate. It will reflect in your ability to build trust if there is something that is kind of vacant. And what occurred with me is that I neglected the relationships that mattered to me. And that was a huge mistake on my part, and something that filled me with a lot of regret. And it's something that you have very much helped me with, Mark. You know that. We spent hours on the phone where you coached me to kind of remold my thinking processes. And I think that investing time in your own personal development to your mental health is something that's so important. Like I didn't think it would be something that would be important until this last year. Like I didn't appreciate the importance of personal development until I ran into a point that then made me think, okay, I need to reevaluate some things here. So I think that if you are to be very well-rounded in what you do, obviously your passion will just flourish in itself. But if you can work on your own personal development as well, I think then that will make you very complete as a person. And then that is the moment where even greater things will occur, even more. Like I know that since I've got to work on my personal development, I've been able to grow my business at an even quicker rate.
Has it enabled you to have better relationships with other people then?
100% yes.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to help people, always, but it's allowed me to improve the quality of my interactions consistently. Yeah. It's allowed me to not just be selfish about my own business growth. It's been very, very, very important working on those things, and it's allowed me. So I'll dip into like the personal aspects. It saved my relationship. It saved my 10-year relationship with Corin, which was about to fail. To be honest, it did fail. It failed, and it deserved to fail because of my selfishness. But I got to work like I always do. I got my head down and I got to work when it mattered.
But you would have been sat there, Jordan, on a very successful financial business with clients and a great physique, but unhappy.
I would have been, because I would have lost someone that is really the most important person in my life. Yeah. The person that inspires me the most, that motivates me the most, the person that really is the whole kind of crux that underpins everything that I do. And that would have happened because I was blinkered into just this one track mind of I must drive the business, I must drive my physique, and I neglected a lot of things. And then, like you know, as soon as I kind of got to work on the personal development aspect, I spent a lot of time with a therapist. Yeah. Again, I'm not afraid to admit, because the way I see this is that if you need help, you must seek out that help.
And we're not going to learn anything, Jordan, if people like you don't share. I've shared my journey throughout the whole of my life. I did personal development when I was in a hole of, taking recreational drugs and partying for 18 months of my life, where I avoided and went into a hole of avoidance as to why I was unhappy. And then I went on an 8 to 9 year journey of recrafting myself into the person that I want to be for the rest of my life. And quite funny, you and I have spoken at length recently about how can we create a version of you that goes forward in all aspects. And that's not my doing, it's your doing. But it's phenomenal that somebody that's been in the industry so long has then stopped and went, right, for the next stage of my life, I need to then spend a bit more time on me to complete the journey that's going to take me forward for the next 10 years.
100%. And it's so important. I think that if you're someone that is struggling in areas, then seeking out that personal development is so important. Be it someone that, like, I was seeing a clinical psychologist, which isn't necessarily the choice that I needed to make because of the field that she worked in, but her skill set allowed me to. At one stage, I was having 2 sessions a week, and what it allowed me to do very quickly was to take a step back from the scenario that I was in. And we talked about it as being like a painting. We would step out of the painting and we would look at the painting on the wall and we would be like, is that where I want it to be? Is that where I want it to be? Can I maybe readjust this a little or readjust that a little? And now I'm going to step back into the painting. And
wow,
that's what I constantly do now. I step out and I look and I reflect on my behavior. I reflect on my decisions. I reflect on my interactions. I never used to do that. So there will be instances now where maybe I had an interaction with someone 3 weeks ago that will still be playing on my mind now because I wasn't happy with the manner in which I conducted myself. And it could actually have been something very, very small.
Yeah.
Even the way that I said thank you or didn't say thank you, something as small as that. But I now reflect on that a lot because I now realize that that's very, very important. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I was ever rude before because I wasn't, but now it's about being mindful. It's actively being mindful about the way you present yourself. And I can't even, for someone that has, obviously I've spent the last 6 months in doing this and it's ongoing. It still is. I will still be continuing with this therapy and the work that I'm doing because
and it's very easy for people to avoid, right? Like it's very easy because it's hard. Like the funny thing is, let's liken this to building a business. It's hard.
Yes.
Let's liken this to building a physique. It's hard.
Yes.
When you start to open up Pandora's box and have a look in and go, holy crap, I don't like who that is.
No, it is very, very difficult. But equally, you and I are the sort of individuals that will say, okay, well, I have a goal. How do I get to that goal? Mm-hmm. And then you do what you have to do to get to the goal. Yeah. And if you don't do what you have to do, then you never really wanted to reach the goal. For me, the goal was to reestablish my relationship with Corinne and it become better and stronger than ever, which I feel we are on the steps and we are on the process to doing because like I said, she's the most important person in my life. And despite building everything that I've managed to build, I couldn't have done it without her. Mm. And
she's incredible.
It's so this is obviously a little bit off topic to business, but it kind of isn't in the same way.
I agree with you. I think it is not, and it's something I cover a lot when I work with people because to be a better business person, you need to be a better person.
Yeah, you certainly do. So this will also allow you to connect with values that don't come naturally to you.
Yeah,
because it will allow you to be more mindful and to think of the bigger picture and to think about the way people feel and the way your actions make people feel. And if this is something that you can do on top of naturally being passionate about something, then again, it's going to be hugely demonstrated in your business success.
And on that, which is kind of lovely at this point, is the fact that, you know, the length of time that you've been doing what you're doing and only in the last 6 months have started to address another area that is going to layer into your personality, your business, your brand, your bodybuilding to enhance the next stages of your life just solidifies the fact that successful people do not stop. And if at this point 2 to 3 years into your career, you're thinking, how long am I going to have to work this hard? How hard is it going to be to keep building my body? You know, you've given up already because you've got to, one of the big things for me is if I wake up and there's a challenge, I can't wait to find out how to get around it. You know,
100%.
and every day, whether or not it's, you know, educating, whether or not it's mentoring, whether or not it's a personal internal challenge, the person that wants to become successful is excited by the challenges and excited by what you've got to learn to get through them, right?
Definitely. And I think that the biggest take home people can take from like my advice, like I said, is that be absolutely sure about what you're passionate about. And regardless how scary it may be to go down that path, if you want to be happy, then be ballsy enough to do it. So if you're in a 9 to 5, but really you want to be your own boss and do your own thing, do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, just take the leap. And it will be scary as hell at first. And there'll be periods of time where you will feel like you're making mistakes, and there'll be periods of time where financially it'll be a struggle. But just honestly have such faith in the fact that your passion will pull you through. It really, really will.
I love that. I love that. And you know what? I'm literally inside my computer now in terms of the energy of this conversation, because I feel so connected to the conversation. I feel that anyone listening to this is going to take not only a lot away in terms of business, in terms of what it's taken Jordan to get to where he's at, but also what he's doing now to take. This is all so that you can do the next stage, because everything that you want to accomplish is not going to accomplish if there's blocks in the way, which I think is incredible. And I think this comes to a point, Bud, where it kind of wraps up lovely with you giving some incredible life advice as well as your business lessons along the way. And I know we've talked about don't want to sell. We're not going to sell anything. What I am going to do to anybody that isn't following Jordan and who isn't either on his membership site or anything like that, I encourage you, in a second I'd like you, Jordan, if you could just tell people how to find out about you, what the website is, because
Sure.
This isn't selling, I'm gifting you the opportunity to learn from somebody that's not only an incredible friend of mine, but an incredible individual who is really transforming the way that people are learning and inspiring people all over the world. So, but if you could just tell everybody how they find out about you.
Sure. So our website, our membership website is trainbyjp.com. And then you can get a really good insight into what Corinne and I do, probably on our Instagrams. So Corinne's Instagram is CAI57, which is a bit random. I don't really know why she called her Instagram that, but when you click on it, you'll see Corinne Ingman, IFBB Pro. And then my Instagram is trainbyjp. So feel free to have a look. And yeah.
Well, Bud, I'd just like to say that this has been a hugely inspiring conversation, and anybody in the fitness industry, I know if you've got to 1 hour and 8 minutes into this podcast, which is the longest we've done, and you're not only feeling inspired to go and tear up the gym, but you're inspired to grow your business, develop your brand, and help people, but most of all, in the words of Jordan, just be passionate about what you do. This podcast has given you some incredible tools to go forward and do that. I just want to say from me, thank you for giving up your time. I know how busy you are, but I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And like I said at the beginning, I don't know where I would be now if it wasn't for you. I mean that. Like we sat down 6 months ago in Victoria, London Victoria train station, and I burst into tears right in front of you. And I remember just being like, Mark, what do I do? Just tell me what to do. And I was so scared. And I remember that just the hours that you put in on the phone with me to help me through a period of my life that was the most challenging thing I've ever done. I will never, ever, ever forget that, ever. So for those of you again, this sounds like I'm trying to sell now, but I'm not. For those of you that again have any doubts in regards to Mark's capabilities, considering he's one of my closest friends, he truly is one of the most brilliant people I have ever met in my life. And for that, I'm truly grateful. So thank you, buddy.
Sit me on my arse, why don't you? Let's finish on a little bit of a laugh, but that means the world to me. Thank you. You didn't need to say that, but it's extremely grateful. Guys, we have come to the end of today's episode, one which I know, even if you're going to listen to it in chunks, just if you've got to this end point, I thank you. Please do us both a favour. Share the podcast, tag us both in. Let's get as many people around the world listening to the advice that Jordan shared today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have him on. Please share us, tag us, let everybody know. I'm very, very grateful. Guys, take care, and we shall see you soon.
Thanks, guys.